You're not what's your story?
To my younger self, what's your story?
To my younger self.
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 To my younger self. To my younger self.
To my younger self. What's your story? To my younger self. What's your story?
Well, hello and good morning. How is everyone doing? Oh my goodness, it is the first week of February. Can you believe that? I feel like the space-time continuum thing is happening too fast. What do you think? Listen, my name is Zoe Baraka and the show is To My Younger Self, where we tell stories from the past that will propel us into the future. Indeed, a person who doesn't know who they are and the stories that makes them who they are what's the word I'm looking for, will not know the road to take to get to where they're going, right? And that is what To My Younger Self is all about. Again, my name is Zoe Baraka. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please do me a favor. Before we continue, I would ask you to do me one tiny little favor. Go into that little, like at the bottom of your page, whether you're watching on your phone or your computer or your tablet, there's a little word there, SHARE. It is share. That's the share button. Please, please share. Share, share, share. Invite your friends to come on and join us. Today we're going into the annals or the halls of high diplomatic and philanthropic, what should I call it? Inner workings. I am so excited about this young lady. I'm calling her young lady, but really, she's my auntie, right? I've adopted her, or rather, she's adopted me. So yay. Good morning from Florida. It is so good to see you, Dr. Vivian. How is Florida? I'm sure it is very, very, warm there. I'm very, very jealous. I cannot lie. But when you do come in, please say good morning to us in your local dialect. Like we always do, we like to greet each other in our native tongues from all across Africa, and we're about to do that now. Baraka dazwa to you, Saninku dazwa yayade, kakwana lafia. It is so good to see you. I am so glad that you woke up and that you get time to join us. I just greeted you in Hausa. Ya ken Tuma Tuma Fuduwela Tipose Winam Baraka. We are so grateful that you're here. I just spoke to you in my father tongue, Kosal. It is so good to see you. Indinao to you. If you speak Ave, I greet you. Efwa, Eleke, it is good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see. Saying Akwaba, Mawachi. We greet you, we greet you, we greet you. I'm greeting you in a few dialects of the Akan language. How are you? I hope you are well. Right? Let us know you're well in the comment section. We definitely want to hear from you. Sawubonani to you, South Africa. We're always telling you, stand up. It is good to see you. You guys are always upping the numbers. Let me tell you, by Wednesday, these South Africans, they've gone in there and watched, and the numbers just keep rising. It is good to see you guys. Thank you. Of course, we love you. We love you. Ibela to you, Biokibari to you. If you speak Moshi, thank you for joining us. Te Oyo Teng. Ojeko to you. Thank you for joining us. I also just greeted you in Ghana. If you speak Ghana from Accra, Ghana, or really anywhere in the world, thank you for joining us. Lale to you. That is hello in Chadian Arabic. We thank you for joining us. Itiomefe to you. Thank you. How are you? It is good to see you. Ekaro to you, all of our Yoruba speaking friends. We are so thankful you're here. Yoruba people, man, you definitely up the game, right? Oh man, y'all know, you know how to party. Nagadef to you, to all of my Wolof speaking friends. You all know how much I love Senegal. Why? Yisundor, right? Jumbo to you, habari gani, habari ya usubwe, yaure to you. Thank you for joining us if you speak Swahili. Kotong to you, amohelang to you if you speak Sesotho. Thank you for joining us. Inyasi to you, Kotolii to you, to all of our Fofoldi speaking friends. If you are a Fulani, anywhere in the world really, we want to say thank you. We're paying homage to our Ayiti Sheri people. Akeyi to you, I just greeted you in Creole. Thank you. Bom dia if you speak Portuguese. Bonjour. Buenos dias, buongiorno, imaraba. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The show, of course, again, is To My Younger Self. I'm about to introduce to you our next guest storyteller. But before I do that, something incredible is happening with one of my mentors, a woman who's adopted me as her daughter, and is kind of just bringing me along with her, Ohinayere Gifty Auntie. What Gifty Auntie is doing, or Ohinayere Gifty Auntie, actually I call her Auntie G. What Auntie G is doing is, this month, she kind of has decided she wants to have a conversation with young people who are in the media or want to be in the media and communication space, but not just any young people, but women. I love that about her when she just tries to give back. So there is only a few spots left. She opened it up to 53 people to commemorate her 53rd birthday. And To My Younger Self kind of went alongside with her, and we sponsored a few spots. There's only 15 spaces left. We're registering you for free. So young adults who are here, please, please jump on board. This is what storytelling does. This is what learning from those who have gone in the past and are coming up and doing incredible things, just having a conversation. She tells us that this is a conversation, it is not a lecture. You get to ask her questions you didn't know how to ask before, didn't have access to before. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, it doesn't matter. The spaces are free, okay? They're free. There's 15 more. Please contact us, contact To My Younger Self through our page, and we will give you a code. And when you go to the event, you can just show the code and you would know that it is paid for. I'm going to let Gifty Auntie speak about this herself before I introduce you to our guest storyteller. I do apologize in advance, a little bit of a long intro today, but we're African and we love to talk, and we're grateful that you're here, right? All right, here we go. This is Gifty Auntie telling you about conversations with Gifty Auntie happening this month.
Hi, my name is Ohinayere Gifty Auntie, and on the 13th of February 2023, it's going to be a Monday, I invite you to my special program, my maiden edition of Conversations with Gifty Auntie. 4 p.m. prompt. Venue is GDA Studios. Just call 020-886-1919 or 0543-618182 for directions. It's 50 cities each, and it's going to be an intimate conversation with only 53 ladies in the media, or ladies who want to be in the media, ladies in the communication field. It's going to be exciting, it's going to be insightful, it's going to be provoking, and you get a chance to ask me that question that you've been itching to ask me. 50 cities each, 13th of February 2022, 4 p.m. prompt. Call 0543-618182, 020-886-1919 to book your seat. 50 cities each. See you there.
And like we said, for you, if you got your code from To My Younger Self, that 50 cities registration is free, because To My Younger Self kind of took up that cost. And we're very happy we could partner with Ohinayere, my very own Auntie G, to do this. So again, please reach out to us. Okay, let me introduce you to our next guest storyteller. Woo, I'm so excited. You're in for a ride. Guys, hold on to your seats. I'm just going to refer to her as Auntie Abby, okay? But Abigail Burgesson or Burgesson, I'm going to have her just kind of pronounce her own last name because it's just wrong to butcher someone's name, right? But she is a women's rights, social justice, and cultural advocate. She is a woman of faith and a feminist. She has over 25 years of experience as an international development practitioner in social justice philanthropy. She has worked extensively within the nonprofit sector in Ghana, across Africa, and internationally. Her broad background, knowledge, and experience include working with the African Women's Development Fund, AWDF, in a senior management capacity, where she influenced and managed philanthropic partnerships while also nurturing strategic relationships, leading to the growth of resources to support women's rights work across Africa and the Middle East. Do you not just love her already? Abigail's demonstrated track record in social justice and women's rights are driven by her passion and commitment to ground women's voices and perspectives in various issues such as leadership and governance, philanthropy, youth, education, health, and economic security. Abigail leverages her combined extensive experience by providing opportunities for people and organizations to grow, develop, and flourish in what they do. She is a mentor, trainer, facilitator, and moderator. Whoop, whoop. You see why I'm excited? In recognition of her contributions to women's rights, Auntie Abby, or Abigail, received an award for feminist leadership in Africa from Akina Mamawa Africa, AMWA Leadership Institute in 2008. And then also in 2015, she was appointed by the USA State Department and the United States Aid for International Development to represent CSOs in Ghana at the African Growth and Opportunity Act meeting in Gabon, given her work with CSOs. Let me tell you, there is so much more to her. You know, she's been part of YALI. There's so much. But the last thing I would like for you to know about Auntie Abby is that she is married and has 3 adult children. She indulges in Afrocentric interior decor and loves spending fun time with family and dancing with her sisters. She uses good music effectively. I really love that line. She uses good music effectively. You know we're in the presence of greatness. I have just gotten to know her and I absolutely love her. Love her. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, like we always do in grand to my younger self fashion, please help me welcome the absolutely indomitable Auntie Abby. Hi, 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 hi.
Hello.
By the way, guys, let me tell you, she's the only, one of the only guests I know who is not family who has mentioned my name the right way. So pay attention, okay?
There's been a Baraka in my life, so I know Baraka, the name, very well when I
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Baraka, to your crew, to sisters, brothers, everyone who is here. I don't know, I'm in the hot seat today.
You are. It's a very warm and cool hot seat. It's very nice. But Auntie, I'll be over to you. My job is done. I have the best job in the world. 15 minutes tops.
Thank you very much. I heard you talk about my name. Well, that's my my husband's name, and it is Burgesson.
Burgesson.
It's a Ghanaian name, originally from the Scandinavia. And you know the intermarriages, and they are girls from Osu.
Right.
So this is a name you find around Osu. It's me. I once went into an interview, and when I got in, I'm already starting the story. The person, Dr. John Sofriata of blessed memory, he just said, excuse me, I'm expecting someone else. And I said, it's me. And he said, what's the name? And I said, Abigail Burgesson. He was expecting somebody with a different color skin.
Oh my God.
And his reaction was, Nadine Sukofa, when he found, literally meaning, so where did you pick this name from? Speaking an Akan name. And once I was also being picked up at the airport at Cape Town, And I saw the person holding my name and was showing it to all the whites and the colored people.
Asian ones. Oh my God.
So I was even walking closer to him, but he wasn't paying attention. So when I got there, I just said, unfortunately, it's me you are picking up. And he was so surprised. So anyway, that is it. I'm Abigail Burgesson, born and bred and called Abigail Lydia Na Akushika Laye. And I don't joke with that as my identity. I don't know where to pick my story from, but I think I'm capable of sharing 3 or 4 transformating stories that have really impacted me and made me speak to myself all the time. Wow. Anyway, when I got this invite, I just said to myself that Baraka doesn't know the one she's talking to. And I quietly and secretly always speak to Abigail. Wow. I draw affirmation and strength from speaking to my little self, Abigail, which stems from a book I inherited, and I call it my treasure. I was handed a baby book by my parents, which recorded me from birth with images, with what I said and how I behaved, my misunderstanding. And so for the longest time, when I'm confronted with issues or I have found myself in a place where I've been disrespected, I'd felt inadequate, I'm human, it's come across in different ways and forms. I'd always retired quietly to speak to Abigail, to say, look, they can decide to call you what they want to, but I call myself what I want to be called. And lo and behold, with technology, I downloaded some of these pictures onto my phone. So it was readily available. This is a secret people don't know, but I literally retire and speak to myself. Some people hear some of my inspirations, those I've worked with. But yes, my life, and I believe the life of all of us, I've not come across in linear, in one straight line. We've been interjected by different things from childhood to our adulthood, and it's been the same for me. What I have come to believe and I've said to myself, every path you walk, every person you meet, everything you do, whatever skill you acquire is needed at a certain point in your life. Yes. And it's a true reflection of me. A lot has happened from childhood to adulthood, but one of the key things I say is there were things that I didn't plan for. And what I studied does not really show in what I do now, but it was an access, an entry point, and opened me up to whatever I did in terms of career and how I lead my personal life. But one of the key things I'll say, and I believe in, and it is the mantra for life, which I say to myself, I say to my children, is relationship. Friends, family, whatever, colleagues, at whatever stage you meet, they know that it's part of your destiny. Wow. There is a favorite hymn I'd always liked in the ancient and modern. I came from the Anglican background, and it's part of the children's hymns. And it says, my health and friends and parents dear, to me the Lord has given. I cannot draw another breath unless what is sent from heaven. Wow. It is not currency. It is not status. It is not everything. And I thank God for the course of my life. I have been blessed with friends. And in my language, the Ghana language, there's a saying that says, Wekue femafio. It is not only blood. God is thick, but the people who most of the time can wake up at any time without any payment of a fee or anything are friends that have become family. I have Alice, I have Ivy, I have Gertrude, I have Lydia, Sybil Senu, and a whole lot that we met from those from primary school to secondary school, that even in my absence, my family members would show up at any family event of theirs. And for me, it is something that I picked and learned, and I'm like, I've brought into my own family, Nicholas' family, and I say to myself that what would I do without these people? Wow. Wow. So at times it challenges the notion of blood is thicker than water. I ask,
right.
really so? I know people who are cursing blood. They curse blood every day for different reasons. And they know those who run to them all the time are people they have built relations with.
Yes.
And I would use this to speak to a family that I was glued to, that I, up to today, or since I gained the consciousness of being a feminist or women's rights, that was one of the key things that came along. Anyway, as a child, I had a lot of questions that were unanswered, and I couldn't speak to them. And because nobody spoke about it, you know. But as I grew up, I realized it was an identity issue. An identity issue, and I always look at the Planch sisters. I think I have them in my collection of pictures. I spent time with them. They were far older. They lived across. By the way, I was born and I grew up on the Wooden Road, where the side road of Wooden Atusu. So those from Ghana who know the Usu area, and the houses are there, the Planch, the Bonapartes, the Osutes, the the Wona Hammonds, Fritz Barford's dad's family was further down, the Butterfeld, the Badgers. I went to school, Mrs. Badger drove me to school. These were all people who influenced me. But the Planch sisters, they were about 8 girls and 3 brothers. And when I started reading, I saw Mr. Planch at a point in time put a poster on his gate. He was running his business, which I grew up to know, J.K. Planch and Sons Limited. Every time, like, my sons.
How old were you, Auntie Abigail?
I think I would be about 4 or 5. I'm like, why sons? Because the house is full of women. His wife, I called Nana, and who was my nanny, and then his daughters who were in secondary school at the time. And they were all there doing the errands and all that, going to school. And the wife went to the market every day, swung a huge hips, carried herself up and down. And Mr. Planch had his sons who were younger, apart from one, on this gate as J.K. Planch and Sons Limited. And I asked my dad, what does limited mean? He gave an explanation which I couldn't actually grasp. I don't remember.
Right.
But I felt it was so unfair that Mr. Planch didn't have his daughters listed on them.
Wow.
Now, growing up, I just realized, look, this is the trend, this is the reality of women. That yet much as we are acclaimed and parents may be proud of us, society has socialized our mothers, our fathers, and everyone into the reality of who the male child is. He is the one who can be the business partner and take up the business, you know. And so, not that I'm faulting them, but it is so much ingrained in society. And this lingered in my thoughts all the time, to the extent that when in my adulthood, I started engaging the concepts of women's rights, equality, feminism, I just saw how ingrained it was in society. It was in our DNA. And it takes a lot of consciousness and intentionality to really make a drift or shift from that as a culture in a way, one way or the other.
Wow.
The other thing too that I ascribed to my identity was the nursery rhymes we had. The English nursery rhymes, Mary Had a Little Lamb and all that. You know? And then I could hear on Radio Ghana, on Saturday afternoons, there were this children's program, the Ghana version, and there were the versions in other local songs. And it didn't feel right to me.
Can you sing some of them?
Mary Had a Little Lamb. It was as white as snow. And the girl version was, Mary was Afua, and Afua is a Friday born, isn't it? So coming in my adulthood, I understood Afua, but at that time it didn't.
So how did it go in the Ghana version?
Afua yeto bibioko, that is a little lamb. It was as white as snow. and I hadn't seen snow too before.
Oh my God.
And I interrogated a lot of things that I couldn't ask anyone. One thing I realized, which I picked up in my adulthood, and I'm glad I inherited this book too, that spoke a lot to me about who I was, how I spoke about things, my interpretation of things. That all came to affirm that certain traits come very early. We may have been born with it. We are questioning. I questioned things and society wouldn't question. I couldn't speak it out, but I went along with it. And that is the identity. I always want to look like myself.
Wow.
And when people told me, or once I remember my husband, I traveled, my work took me around. He came and he told me that, do you know that anytime you're not in church, people come to me and ask, where is your wife? We admire her so much. She's very African in her approach. And this was way before we started making dresses from our local prints and all that. But here I was doing all these things, and people thought it was different. Well, I know then we were really glued to things. A friend tells me, why do I cook so much exotic food? Or she realizes I have exotic food. And what does she mean by exotic food? Because you could find the kind of food you buy from the streets being cooked in my house, the breakfast things, the oblayo, the kwegbe, the ofam, or what they call the ablongo.
Those are our natural foods. Those are our foods. They're not exotic.
But I'm just speaking to a point that I enjoyed them and I liked them. I wasn't competing with any foreign thing. We had conflicts and all those things, but I had a strong inkling to be myself in different ways. I was expressing without even knowing.
Wow.
And when I gained the realization, I told Abigail that you have to be you. You cannot change it. And there's admiration for it. People are like, oh, how come you do this? Even the kind of arts and crafts I engage in and all that, the summer hats used in the market, they mean something different to me. People ask, are you an artist? No teacher would ever say I'm an artist. Any teacher who's taught me, none of my schoolmates will call me an artist. Artists, when we were in secondary school or primary school, were people who could draw. That was how far we could go. I mean, it was at a stage in our lives that we realized there were sculptors, there were writers, musicians, all these people making those things. But one thing I speak to myself, and I spoke it very early, that I was created as an individual. And whatever mix was used, the Lord used in creating me, the reserve was not used in creating any other person.
Wow.
And I believe every one of us is so unique in our own way. Last week, an article came up on WhatsApp that about certain facts of life. And what I recall reading was that there are everyone in a lifetime would meet 6 people who look like them. They have identicals or whatever. 6 people. And I said, even with that 6, I am me. I am me. I don't share that with anybody.
Doppelgangers, they call them.
And everybody should know that they are an individual. And I tell me my strengths and my weakness I own as an individual. And I tell myself, and I told my daughter that her strengths and her weaknesses are hers. You can't be like somebody. You've got to be like us. And in progression of life from an infant stage, we can't help it, but we see the judgments, the comparisons, and all that as part of our lives. And one thing that is going to move me into the sphere of education, I know I'm mixing up things, is something I picked up. And it's a whole story, and I really feel good about this story. In 1997, I was working with the Institute of Economic Affairs, and this story is going to lead me to the early ages of my education. I was organizing an event as an economic and program officer, legislative program officer at the institute, and we were receiving the director of the Swedish Minister for International Affairs in Ghana. So it was my responsibility to coordinate this meeting, working with the Swedish embassy and my director, and then also seeing to logistics. And it happened to be happening at the Golden Tulip Hotel, which is now Lancaster, Accra.
Oh, wow.
And this was the period of the fax days. You know, you send fax. So I was communicating with Golden Tulip, and they assigned one lady, Julie Addy, who was communicating with me. Of course, we had grown. My name is Abigail Burgesson, and whatever, I was communicating in the rooms, whatever the setting I needed and everything. So closer to the time, a few days, I decided to go to Tulip to meet the person and then have a physical check, which I do as part of my work. And when I got to Golden Tulip and I met this Juliana person, we were jumping and hugging and screaming. It was so happy. I've known Juliana from nursery school. She was ahead of me by 2 years or a year. Wow. And when I entered secondary school, and then we went to the same primary school, but I moved because my family home moved from Oswari. And so I moved on to another school. But when I entered secondary school at St. Mary's Girls Secondary School in Accra, Legon precisely, she was in Form 2. And she was my senior from nursery. And that was it. We finished. She repeated Form 2. And so when I got to Form 2, she became my mate and we were in the same class. And Juliana Choffel was her name. And I must say, of blessed memory.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So we were excited at Golden Tulip, and she was like, "Oh, where have you been, Abigail? It's been so long." And I said, "Oh, I was abroad. I got back, and I'm working here now." And she said, "Oh, she's so proud of me, but she always tells somebody, and she tells people she went to school with somebody who wasn't clever, but the person went to the university, and it's me." And she's been saying this to people all the time, that she has a mate who wasn't clever, and yet the person went to the university. But it's so unfortunate she couldn't go to the university. She did a diploma in hospitality and catering. And I said, "Julie, that is good. We cannot." And I asked her how she knew I went to the university, because I haven't seen her since we parted ways after O-level. She said, "Don't I remember, we met at the University of Ghana around Volta Hall, and I was going for lectures, and that's where we met. And honestly, I didn't have a recollection." And she said, "Oh, she's sorry about it. But the way she said, I said, "Julie, what you're saying is right. I don't feel bad that you said you went to school with somebody who wasn't clever. I wasn't clever."
What was your definition of cleverness, though? Oh,
yeah, yes. And I said, "Yes, I was grasping. I was struggling. I didn't." And even in school, I remember I would be in the 20s, and Sister Ruth, an American nun, who happened to be the headmistress, she would write at the end of the report, "Beware of being repeated from 24th position, 25th, whatever. Beware of being repeated." But she never repeated me anyway. But from Form 4, after choosing my subjects, I moved from whatever position to the first 10. You know, I had selected my subjects, and I knew where my interest was. But the primary thing was I had understood myself and known how to study. In my adulthood, I realized that everything that transpired in my life at that time in education, and I'd always said that if I have to relive my life, I wouldn't want to go to formal education. I would want to be educated, but not be in formal education.
Wow, how would that go then?
I don't know. That's one of the wishes. But I realized that, and I learned along the way in adulthood, that I exhibited what is called a visual thinker. And I said, yes, that is it. Because I picture my thinking. I must understand things in a way, I must process it in a way. And the one-size-fits-all approach we were using in Ghana
was not helping you.
It was not helping me. So a teacher cannot come to class and say, "I've taught this in 3 days, we'll write an exam on it." I won't do well. I must understand the concept. And once I get it, you can't take it away from me.
Wow.
So yes, I learned how to study. I put in more energy because the system was not favorable.
Wow.
I had to compete with people who were whatever, and everybody liked them, and they were the stars and all that, and
Most
I
of
relied on them.
poor, they were few and poor.
This linked up to so much, and I said, Abigail, this is me. It is my way and my pace, and I will call myself what it is. I know that I cannot indulge in a lot of things that people did because I needed to grasp things at my level. And so years down the line, yes, I did better even in A level than O level. Can you believe? And the headmistress, when I went for my results, said, Mrs. Size, she was Mrs. Beatrice Size, she was the assistant headmistress. She said, in Ghana, Abigail, ni A-level, technically, the A-level, that is more difficult.
You did well. Wow.
I was engaging what I wanted and all that. But one of the key things that I must say that struck me in my adulthood and still linked to the childhood challenges in education, the processes and all that I've been through, that didn't make, I didn't find myself disadvantaged or, excuse me to say, exclusive or whatever. Or a bit of disability. I'm sure if I'd grown up in some countries, we would have had labels of autism and all these things coming with it.
Dyslexia. I think these
have
words is dyslexia. Like,
yes, of course, yes. And anyway, I need a version of dyslexia in figures. I'm told there's a word, because I couldn't pass O-level maths. I had 9, I had 8, I had 7, and we were the last to enter the University of Ghana without maths.
Oh my!
And I still like it. And in my adulthood, one of the key jobs I had to do, I've worked with mathematics all the time, and I'm like, what is it? What is it that I wasn't understanding? I had to do an 8-country visit for a documentary crew, including me. And when I did it, I remember the executive director, BC Adele Faye, Mrs. Abigail, well done. It was on sports. And I'm like, what are they teaching that I couldn't understand? But the reality is, I can't understand. You can't tell me, Abigail, walk 5 kilometers. I can't comprehend 5 kilometers. The education I had didn't draw 5 kilometers for me. It's 2 years. It's 2 years away. 2 years I can manage, because when I'm in the market and the women are measuring, they just stretch their arms like that. So I can take a yard and double it and all.
That is
and I bake a lot. I'm okay with my caps and other things. But when it goes into other things and liters and all those things,
algebra, trigonometry, arithmetic.
Yeah. So some years ago, I had a gift of a tea towel, what we call napkin or table kitchen cloth. And it was all these measures in it. And I quickly went to frame it, so it hangs in my kitchen. It gives you the cup equivalent, the spoon equivalent, but I'm like, hey, Abigail, it's not your fault. It is the educational system. Why should they teach us things that we can't comprehend?
Right.
Why
the stuff that you don't get?
It should be realistic. Thank God with Google now, when it says 10 right, 200 kilometers away, 200 watts. I get it now because it's happening often. But why should
they even say in 0.5 miles, and you're like 0.5 miles, but then it would tell you right when you get there, turn left, so you know you're turning left right now.
Yeah. And that has been it. So I said, look, this is not my wahala. It is a fault with the system. I need to embrace what I understand and create what I understand. And so years later, when we were building and we're dealing with an architect and all that, and he's shown us the drawing, the plan, and I've told him I want a kitchen this size and I want all that. And he had brought the design, and I was looking at it and said, you know what, I can't understand all this. Take me to a building and a room and show me that this is what the kitchen size will look like. Then I can comprehend. So what I did and what has guided me throughout is knowing that limitation, and also not accepting the fact that it's me, but I just think that it is a flawed system we have. We need to relate our education and the training and the teachings to our everyday life, because it can ease understanding for everyone. Everyone would understand. And I've embraced it very well to guide me in my processes.
Wow.
And anytime I'm confronted with this, it makes me feel that, look, there's nothing I cannot do in terms of an ability to do it. Thank God we have all the technology, we have the things you can Google to give you the necessary thing. But it is so, so important that it defined my life, and it made me work hard or harder to be at par with people. But at the end of the day, I realize it is me. And anytime I think about it, the last part I'll say about it is when I met mates that were at all levels. I mean, I met mates that were A students,
Mhm.
A students, B students, and I've seen mates that were D's, E's, and F's. And I'm telling you, the E's and the F's are defining life. They are defining life. They can feed a whole generation of the A's and B's. And one particular person I salute wherever she is, she's called Grace Adolfo. And the last time I saw, she came to Form 1 with us. She could hardly even mention the name. She was from somewhere in Coco. And after the first year, I think she left. And she could not even engage in a comfortable conversation in English, but she was our mate. And I remember her calling me once. I don't know whether she identified the struggle or she thought she could approach me, but she told me she didn't understand what they taught and if I could help her. And I don't remember the subject, but we spoke about it. And she found mentees amongst us in the class to help her. After first year, she didn't come back. I was still, I think, at A level. I met her around the UTC popular areas in Accra, Central Market area. She was one of our first and big importers of hair products and creams.
No.
Business. I was at the University of Ghana once. I was crossing the road around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. The zebra crossing cars had stopped, and then there was a honk. Ping, ping, ping. When I turned, it was Grace in this nice car. She waved me. Our last engagement, I was driving to work at East Legon, the African Women's Development Fund. She was jogging in the morning. She lived around that affluent area, Ambassadorial Enclave. Grace Adolfo defined herself.
Wow. Because
For me, what this meant to me and what this has been to me is that we needed a kind of educational system that would tease out our strengths and our weaknesses, our interests, and depart from that thinking and notion that you shouldn't do well and therefore you pursue technical vocational education and you have to do this. There are a lot of people who were taking prizes, I'm telling you, and you don't want to know where they are now.
I can imagine.
And I have met some, actually. I've met some in my travels, and they're like, and what shocked me was one mate in the same class telling me that, oh, I remember this person who wasn't clever and it's you and whatever. And another mate saying that you were one of those people who had ambitions and you had an interest, you could see plans and you had ideas. And I'm like, really? Did it show
that in me?
You know, so the judgment and all that is what makes you as a person, provided you don't take it from a certain point. But it is not everyone who can take it. Because in my adulthood too, I've learned that there are temperaments. There are people that certain things will break them. So you must know what to say to people.
Yes.
You know? Wow. And there are some people too who take it. For me, it's pride that you see me there and I am here now and I can engage. You know, that it speaks to it. And in my adulthood, when I became a parent, I just said, I'd also met parents who had children with learning difficulties and children who were just normal, but they were just not attentive and all that. And I had committed a lot to working in Parents Teachers Association in my children's schools and in other schools I've not been part of. I'm currently the chair of the McCarthy Hill School, PTA. Wow. But the whole thing and idea being there is to enable me bring in that thinking, another kind of opportunities
Right.
which would enable children engage,
Mhm.
you know, apart from the academic way.
Right.
So, although as ALCID Academy, particularly where my children went, I was on the PTA for a long time, and apart from that, I really engaged in extracurriculum activities of the school. I literally took leave from work to do school work.
I can't.
I
Wow.
have seen parents. I have seen parents, and I walked behind the parents because I noticed their demeanor in the meeting when she was told her child cannot memorize, cannot recall things, and therefore she needs special attention. And somebody too has said, the teacher, an assistant teacher said, you know that your child is not clever, and we are doing our best. And such parents are parents I associate with. That look, don't let anybody define your child to you.
Mm.
You
Wow.
must engage, sit up. Don't let anybody call your child by a certain name. We all have responsibilities, and we are doing our best to balance and that is the role of women. Balance work. It is the woman who is working full-time outside, who is doing full-time at home, who is also the extra classes teacher in the house, and who is the laundry person, overseeing all that. Even when they have help, she has oversight over all these people. So I have befriended such parents to see how we can, also guided or suggested that you shouldn't always go the formal way. But it's so difficult for them to say that they would move their children from one place to the other, because we have created the notion that children or people who pursue certain courses, even where you have picked mental health challenge in a child, parents don't want to know, and colleagues they only embrace it when they are friends, and you can link them up to somebody privately for them to see. And
Wow.
this is all stems, and these are big lessons that have come to me and have affirmed my young self. And anytime I talk about speaking to myself, the advice I speak to myself, and I tell my children, you are not going to school to go to school and look for a job. You are going to school to go to school and do the job I want to do. Whether you do it or you partner with somebody, that is the thing. That has been my approach to the direction and whatever. They would still need the formal system, but when you identify these things, you need that every child needs a kind of support.
Yes.
So these things have built me up as a person, and have defined my voluntary work.
Wow.
The voluntary work that I serve in schools with PTAs and engagements and other things. I also work with the Jamestown, and I'm talking of Jamestown British Accra educational chair, to actually work on skills development in the community. Where you have a community in an area like that with teenage pregnancy and all that, they are gifted people. Look at the boxers coming from that part of town.
Yes.
The Olympic Games, you don't need to go far. If you want swimmers, and Ghana must go that way, there are people you can take and polish. They may not be literate. If you want, there are so many things. And the sports, I've walked through Accra Sports Stadium, the tennis place, and I've seen all these young children who are experts in tennis. They need skills one way or the other. How do we mobilize all these skills and all that to develop it? They may not read and write English, but they are also key to our development, to our community.
Wow.
So these things are some of the things that primarily informed and defined my life.
Wow. You know, Auntie Abby, I'm so excited that we came this way, because she has an incredible photo album. I am in awe of her own mom and dad, because of the meticulous way with which they documented her life. And I am not surprised at all that she found her identity so quickly. And we're about to show you a few of them. I'm telling you, I sat there and I said, this was in the 60s? This is what Auntie Abby's mom was doing in the 60s, like in Ghana. It's not in a derogatory way. It's in a shock and awe way for me, because most parents in those days didn't do that. Thank God for technology now and the internet now. A lot of parents kind of document their kids right from when they're pregnant and they have pregnancy pictures and all that. But back then, you literally needed a dark room every time you took a snap. So the meticulousness and the dedication with which this was documented is what awes me. And you guys just hold on to your seats because we're about to start. And Auntie Abby, as we're showing the pictures, you can go ahead and kind of share little bits of stories here and there with them. But I'm going to start with the arrival. Okay, and this is how Auntie Abby's mom actually, this is the book. Let me just show you. Look at this, guys. I love this. Tell us more about this, Auntie Abby. This is the photo, right?
I think there are 4 of us, and I'm the captain. When I say I'm the captain, I think
you're the first child.
I'm the first. The others have their pictures. I think somebody else has it, but this is the photo book I inherited, which documented me, my life, and my siblings have their own photos. One person had a book too. And this is my mother, who is 90, and she'll be 91 this year. She lives with me. She's currently cooking, I'm telling you.
I cannot.
Wow. So this is this book that.
And it says this book. It says this book to recall the first years of my life was a gift from mother. I love your mom because she documented them in your voice. The woman documented Auntie Abby's life in her voice. It is just incredible. Here is what is written in the cover writing of this book. You know, when you have an album and you turn it, this is what it says here. Look at this. Oh, where it is. There you go. Oh my God, I'm in awe of this. I am so in awe of this. And for those of you who can't see properly, it says, I arrived at 2:15 a.m. o'clock on Wednesday, the 13th of May, and it has the dates there of Maternity Hospital, Kuala Lumpur, Accra. And then there's the doctor's name, Dr. Kosa, and then there's the nurse's name, and it has the weight and the color of ice and the color of hair. I mean, how can a child like this not grow up and know who she is? I wish every parent back then would have done this. I mean, we would have had a Ghana of, I don't even know how many incredibly comfortable in their skin people in Ghana we would have had, right, Auntie Abby? All right, we're going to move on. And please, whenever you have a story about any of them, you go ahead, write it. This is one of my favorites. Okay, this one right here. Taken 30th of August, 1964. Look at what a very beautiful child you were.
So the interesting thing is my mom kept everything. Everybody had part of the things you used as a baby. And so my daughter was christened in my dress as well.
This particular dress here?
I had it with me.
Wow.
But this stage, I don't remember, but there are pictures. And that is one of the things that my mom was shocked about, some of the things that came up. I mean, with the subsequent pictures, when in my adulthood, I cite certain things. And she's like, do you remember? And yes, there were things that happened that I really remember. And I really remember there's a picture that 2 years, my mom was a nurse in a way. And so when the baby book actually captures how many spoons of a particular syrup was given on a particular day when I had a temperature, you know, that detail.
Oh my God.
But there was a day that she was on afternoon duty. And anyway, those days, for those who do not know, Ghana was a developed country. And when I say a developed country, you saw things that you see in other developed countries today. that there were buses that plied routes, and they had a timetable at the bus stations and all that. And so from all the way, for those who live in Ghana, just to give you a bit of graphic pictures, from all the way from where it's now Oxford Street, but it wasn't Oxford Street. Anyway, that road had a lot of Lebanese, and we were, it was an estate, and we had a number of Lebanese and foreigners down the road. But on that main Oxford Street, we had buses that plied all the way to cantonments. That's the Morning Star area and all that. And buses 6A and 6B. So in the mornings, when my mom is getting us ready or getting me ready, she would hear the bus and she would say that she must finish quickly and get back to the bus station, because on the return of the bus, she must get to that bus to reach hospital. And so she quickly drops me at the Planche sister's house, and she goes. And some of the incidences when I was going, and then I recall I had what do you call it? No, it wasn't a nail. A plant had been cut, and then it had a bit of thorn. And I felt it. It went through my sandals and all that. And she picked me. I like to walk. You know, when children start walking, they want to walk. They don't want to be carried. And so when I remember these scenes, it was like, do you remember that? I said, yes. But there were scenes too that defined another level of life. And that is the spiritual element, you know.
So, Auntie Abby, let's go through the pictures, and when we're done, we'll go to the other aspect of it. But your pictures inspired me to gather courage to show one of mine. Guys, do not laugh. This is who I was. But I thank my dad, because he also had writings like that on there, okay? This one is 20th February 1983. There goes tiny little Baraka. Right? I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, that's one for the books. But here is another one of Auntie Abby. This one says 3.5 months old. Oh my God. Oh my God. I just absolutely love this. I really love this, and the meticulousness with which your mom kind of just documented this. And then let's see, there's so much more. This one too. Look at that. It says, my baptism, 8th August 1964. Oh my Lord.
Oh, and this picture, for the longest time, I didn't think death would come close. I mean, in this picture, I had my godparents, my grandpa, my parents are the first two, my dad in the street and my mom with whiteness, and my grandpa and my godmother, Mrs. Lydia Mould of blessed memory, all of them, and Grace Mingle, Madam Grace Mingle, all passed. She was the first and the youngest to go. But for us, I was growing up, anytime I looked at this picture, I didn't think they would ever die. I didn't understand this. And then when they passed, I still didn't think there would be a day that I wouldn't have my father. You know, so when it happened, now it's only my mom in that picture who is alive. But it also seemed like, did it really happen? Would it come? And now I know that nobody's here to stay forever. Everybody would go. It's the time and the how and whatever. But they were people that they were godparents, and they were not the godparents like my daughter tells me. They are godparents you don't see. No, they were godparents who had a role in my life. They paid attention. They were there. They would bring things. They remembered birthdays. They would come pick you for weekend and all that.
Wow.
And I remember a funny story. The younger one, Grace Mingle, she was a teacher at University Primary School at Lagos. And she came by once. She had a little Morris Minor car, and I loved the car. She drove by after work, a close friend of my mom. And I think she had a cough. And so she asked me to bring her a cough mixture. She had a medicine. And I was like, for her size, why does she want a teaspoon? So I put her a tablespoon. And she was like, why this big spoon? And then when she left, my mom said, don't you know a teaspoon? I recall this one. And I said, yes, but she's too big for the teaspoon.
Oh my
because she's coming to take her medicine, and for her size, I didn't think that tiny spoon would do. And I recall this very well. But
Oh my God.
I have fond memories of everywhere I've lived as a child, and places like I still revere the Holy Trinity Cathedral where this was taken, where my dad was a verger for the longest time.
Wow.
And all these people went to church there. My grandpa went to St. Mary's Anglican Church. But primarily, also where I grew up, I have still retained my bank branch. Barclays, now ABSA, there, because the likelihood of running into somebody
It's
high. And I still have family living on that street. But one pain was when I was talking to this person, I was hoping he would recognize me, one of the Planch brothers. He won't recognize me. He didn't. And then when I introduced myself, he put his hand on his head, and then I went home with him. And then I met one of the badgers too. And then we literally went to school together because their mom was the headmistress at the Armed Forces School Garrison, where I worked. And so I introduced myself, and he was with his wife. And coincidentally, the wife too was a baby my mom delivered as a midwife.
wow.
So in the end, the conversation, and that's why I say that our life is so connected and intertwined in mysterious ways we can never tell. That is humanity. Irrespective of the region one comes from, the country, whatever, there's one link or the other. And when I called him and I told him who, he said, "Hey, why have you become so dark? What happened? We thought you were the white one amongst us, and those are all the perceptions." I said, well, this is me growing up as a child. Probably everyone thought I was light. But at a certain stage with the son, that was his reaction. This was a few years ago. And last month, November, we were at a party again, and it was like, oh, you've changed so much. So these are things that carry memories, and memories affirm and strengthen me.
Wow. Here's another one. It says, Abigail, the lover of flowers. And I just how you're just standing by the flower with your little, I don't know whether that's a ball or something.
Yeah, that's my balloon. And I had a little watering can too, because my dad was a flower, whatever, plant addict. And if it's watering, I would have to water. And so going in my romper and my, our house had a lot of plants. And that is it. It's a balloon or something moving. I don't remember this picture, but there was one that I think you would have amongst that. I know I really didn't want to take a picture that day.
Oh.
And I was angry.
Let's try to pull it.
I don't know what, I don't recall what upset me, but I know that day I wasn't in the mood. And I had cried. Maybe I'd been spanked too, probably. But what I know is I recall that day, and I live with certain memories about life and things, some of the events that happened. And I was still caught in the picture anyway. I didn't know until I saw the photograph.
Oh my God.
That still managed to take that grip. But the long and short of it is still me, and all the things that shaped and informed me. And I must say, maybe it's a confession. It's not a confession, but I documented my children's birth too, because I was like, I couldn't do this. And for me, I had 3 cesareans for the 3 children. And I had a crew in the person of my husband with the camera live doing this other thing. So at certain times he tells me, no, I know what your intestines look like. So of course,
when they cut all of that.
Yeah, but for the 3rd child, it was a doctor who came because the hospital had moved to the Rich Hospital, newly refurbished from family clinic, and they wouldn't allow it. And I told the doctor, they said, well, they wouldn't allow anyone in the theater. And I told them, I don't want this child to grow up and accuse me of the siblings having something I didn't have. Right. So I don't know how I said it, but there's this doctor I never knew. He said, Dr. Kuma, he said, Madam, I'm off that day, but I'll come on duty to do it for you. And he came on duty and he did it for me.
Wow.
One, we had gone on the bus on a Sunday afternoon. My mom was on Sunday duty at Rich Hospital, and her sister came along with us and took us to the studio at the Osu traffic light, the castle traffic light. The studio, and she left us and went to work. And then my auntie, I had this and all that. So this is the only photograph that was done in the studio, but the others were done by my dad.
I can't.
the pains, and my siblings have pictures. They have pictures. It's only one who have a mini book. That the pain and the thing they took made me tell myself that I don't want anybody to come and bluff me and call me whatever. I don't want anybody to dictate to me and run me down. I don't want anybody to tell me I'm not fit for purpose anyway.
Wow.
I get that kind of strength and affirmation that, look, I am fearfully and I've been created in the image of God, fearfully and wonderfully made by Him, whatever the issues are, whatever it is. And in the course of growth and work, we had met people, or I'm sure everybody would attest to that, I've met people who always have the tendency to make people feel inadequate.
Right.
They had a wrong way of correcting people. I've even started, hey, our French teacher even in school, but you don't dare come. You don't even want to remember her. You don't want a shadow of her in your memory. Her tantrums and insults extended to her families back home. But all these things, I got strength from it that no, the fact that, and years later, I was doing a presentation in the course of my work. I was then working for the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs in Washington. And there was the work we did at Teachers Hall. So I did a presentation. And I spotted my French teacher, Mademoiselle, in there. We called her Ajimandria, Mrs. Ajimandria, she became later. She was in the group. And then later on, she approached me, and when she was talking to me, I was saying in my head, you think because I didn't know French, I didn't know anything or something. I was in my head and I was saying that, because, and I have grown up, I've worked in French-speaking country. All I needed
Incredible.
was hired somebody to work with me.
Yes.
To do the translation. And you can get anywhere. My limitations today does not define me where I get to in my latter years. And that is it, that I still have a lot to conquer. I have conquered a lot. And people ask, what did you do to be doing this kind of work? And there is something I want to share. When I was invited to sit, I'll share my education, maybe the last bit to close that chapter. I was invited to serve on the board, a university board in the US. And that is the Wellesley Centers for Women under Wellesley College in Boston.
Right.
I did a 2-term. And when I got that invitation, I was like, I still go through the struggles, Hey, do they know have they seen my report card before? Do they know my position in school? Why are they asking me, Abigail, to come and serve on this board and all that?
Wow.
I interrogate myself along certain things when things are coming, and then I quickly shut down the critic in me, or that voice, that challenging voice that always takes me back to, you have to work harder, you're not fit. It's not cut for anyone, it is cut for me, Abigail. And I take my place and my ground, and I possess and inherit my inheritance. That is my approach to little Abigail, and I speak to it. And so I braved the courage and I asked the lady, are you asking me as an individual, or you want my organization? Because I was serving on the US board I was serving on the board on Women's Funding Network.
Right.
In San Francisco. And I posed that question to the person who invited me before. And she said, no, because I've seen you 3 times doing this. She cited the programs and things I spoke. I said, there you go. There you go. I am somebody. I'm somebody.
I just love how you talk to yourself. I love that.
I'm going to go there with my Basmati English. The Basmati English, that's the one English we speak in Ghana. I'm not feigning. I'm not doing, because I've also found myself in the course of my career where people who come with certain accents from amongst us are elevated. It's just the same way, like in our children primary school, it is light-skinned people who act angels in Christmas plays, all those things that we've transferred in adulthood. People think we should.
Wow.
We get these nuances and we get these things casted. Some are even so glaring, and I'm like, hey, I'm here.
Wow.
Entrenched.
Wow.
Entrenched.
I'll ask you a little favor. I know you. In this book, you had a few, the way your mom wrote it. I would like for you to kind of read just a few paragraphs for us? Because I'm very fascinated about how, your mom wrote it. And I think we want to hear just a little bit of it, just a little bit.
Okay, let me have a quick look. I haven't really thought of. There was a time I drank kerosene,
Oh
by
my
mistake.
God.
Um,
Wow.
um,
My brother went through that too. Yeah. Wow.
okay. I used to wake up once in the night to have a feed, water, or get changed. Whenever mom is washing my clothes, I do help. And typical of children, you go in and do whatever. I do help her putting the washed dresses onto the floor, on the ground, or putting sand into the water. Mom left me for duty one Sunday afternoon with daddy, as my nurse don't come on Sundays, and the nurse being the nanny. Dad was in the bed resting, and I went to the kitchen and drank kerosene on 26th June 1965.
Oh.
I was choked and gasping when daddy came out and gave me some palm oil to drink, and I vomited a lot. And that was the therapy I think they gave. He then took me to the hospital to see mom. I was still vomiting when we reached the hospital, and my dress was completely wet. Mom quickly took me from dad and gave me saline washout, and I vomited. Dad took me home and cared for me till mom returned home. I was fast asleep when mom came, but I had a high temperature in the night, and mom gave me infant aspirin mixture, 2 teaspoons. That's the bit that kills me, those little nitty-gritties. The temperature continued on and off for 3 days. I was coughing with runny nose. I was having some new tooth out at the same time. Mom was a bit upset. I was fit the 5th day. And so that is a little extract from there. There's a funny one where I couldn't tell the difference between big and small, and that would need a little bit of translation but anyway, there's a little one I could quickly read. I don't know how well we are doing with it.
Definitely go ahead. Yes.
I was very friendly with the Planch sisters and brothers, as well as their mother and father. I used to call Mrs. Planch Nana. I spent most of the time with them, especially when they came on holidays. Mom or Nanny would not see me till bedtime. That is when they are around, because I'll spend all the time in their home. I always play with their dog, Jimmy, and I was very fond of house pets. Jim had 3 babies and unfortunately lost them.
Oh.
I returned home that evening informing dad and mom saying, Jim, baby, egbo. That is in my Ghana language. Jim's babies are
dead. Oh.
Jim too died a few weeks later. Oh, I missed them. I keep asking Auntie C, there was a lady in the house. Ningbe Jim, where is Jim? Is he asleep?
Oh.
So that is it. And my first train trip was on the 13th of October, 1965. I was exactly 17 months old that day. I went to Koforidua with dad, mom, and Alberta, my cousin, to visit Auntie Lizzie, sister, and Dorothy. We had a nice time and felt at home. We returned in the evening.
Oh, wow.
There are extracts where I couldn't tell the difference between big and small. So when I'm giving something small and I don't like it, I'll just look at it and say in Ghana, Agbone, and then leave it down. That means this big one. But all this is not to show this bit, but I realize there's so much in this that speaks to me now, even as an adult. And I cannot separate that life from this. And I'm sure even for those that would not have anything documented, there's so much, the oral narration. There's a lot of the oral narration that speaks a lot to us. They even speak it to our children. For those who our grandparents are around and those who saw us, they see our children and then they bring up history. The documentation happens. And that is the beauty of the oral history we have that can still be documented as part of it.
Oh, wow. I'm telling you, I've thoroughly enjoyed this session, just with the pictures. And there was like this little video here of just how the album was set up. Let's see, this particular one, you know, oh, I just really love it. There you go. Oh my goodness. This is a treasure trove. And the names and the descriptions of who they are. Wow.
Oh, I love this page, and I still thank them and their generation. Those who donated towards my naming ceremony, you know, the gifts in pounds. And that amount, that money opened the first bank account at Standard Chartered Bank.
For you.
For me. So it was a treasure that
Oh my God. Oh, God bless your mom and your family for just being so meticulous about this. I feel like I went into like Alice in Wonderland story, and like there's all these things coming at me. I'm so excited about this one. Oh my goodness. Oh, my first birthday. Wow. My second year. Oh my goodness.
That's the picture where I ran to read.
Oh, wow. My third year.
It's all fancy in this, but there were also the pressures of life even as a child. The initial pictures showed me plump and nice, but I grew up as a very slim and thin, skinny person, and my complex that I had to deal with. I've heard people talk about things said about them that they lived with permanently. Was my skinny self.
Oh my God. Oh, it is so precious. This is such a precious treasure that I'm thinking, man, this she should have it published. But this is something you also want to keep close and not want to publish for the entire world. You want it to kind of be your, you know, that I just love it. And I love that you get to go back anytime you want and speak to that little girl, Abigail, and just talk to her and talk to her. Wow. 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 So we're about to and oh, Mama Emilia is here. Oh, Mama Emilia, thank you so much for joining us. She says some parents spend instead of saving the cash gifts their babies receive at their naming ceremonies. This is true. Some parents do spend it. Indeed, I remember that mine was also saved, and I actually did get a bank account with that too. And so we thank those parents that actually did that. And now I'm also praying that most parents young now would learn from this, and you don't know what you're doing for your children when you're documenting so lovingly, so meticulously. I love that Auntie Abby's mom told stories about the pictures. It's just so incredible. And I really, really wish we could do that too. I know you wanted to kind of venture a little bit into the spiritual life, and time is far spent, but we'll give you about 5 minutes, maybe less, to kind of go into that a little bit. Yeah.
A number of things have defined my life issues. I've even had a complex. I grew up as a very thin and skinny person. Now you don't even want to see me. And I keep telling people I'm the last person to pay a gym instructor to be slim, because I don't need to be told that. But spiritual consciousness and awakening had been a very key factor from an early age. I wasn't conscious of it. I could see things that My mom wouldn't see, my dad wouldn't see. I said, look at this person is working here and all that. So I
Wow.
went through that trauma. I mean, time won't allow us to speak to that, but they were real.
Things.
They
I'm
were really,
curious. What kind of things? Give us
well,
a little story. Wow.
it's going to take you more than your 5 minutes. It's going to take you more than your 5
I think
minutes.
the audience will be okay. I think
Yeah.
they will take a little more. They will take a little more time, right, guys? Give me a thumbs up. Very good, please.
Yeah, so in the book, it's captured that my mom, when she's on night duty, she lives with my dad.
Mhm.
And I saw these pictures, people who come on the wall, they were faces I knew. And they were very fearful, but I knew them. And one day, and I screamed, and my dad would pick me. But there was a day when I screamed from my cot. My cot was a cot bed, and that time the person was kneeling. And anytime I speak, this was one thing that shocked my mom. Anytime I narrate this, I get a graphic picture of it. You know, that person had knelt in front of the cot with their hand on the.
What?
He lived on their lane. And a distant relative, she lived on the street like that. So my dad picked
And
me
was
up.
watching
Said,
you.
yes, and I said, she's standing here. This is it. So he was holding me and turning me around, and then she moving against the person, and he wasn't seeing. But that wasn't the first time. The worry had been, I have these things. My dad complains I don't let him sleep when my mom goes, and so it was a concern for them. And he prepares me in the morning and leaves me with the Planch sisters, family house. And then when from work, my mom picks me up from there, or the nanny picks me and brings me to my house, which is just across the road. And in those days, the estate houses did not have brick walls like they do today. They had milk bush planties or thorns that were nicely manicured, and you could see mother's home and all that. So that day, my mom, it's been going on. There are times that if my dad had to be on trek or somewhere, my mom would take me to sleep at the Ridge Hospital. I slept in the children's ward when she's working, because she wouldn't have somebody at night, and that was fine. But when I came home, so this time when my mom picked me and was coming, this lady, old person I know, this particular person, I know she doesn't walk, because we see, I go to the house, I'm taking there, and I recall vividly I was walking and I could talk, and I hadn't started school. And when we came to the house, when we were walking in, I asked my mom, can she walk? And she said, no, she doesn't walk. And I said, so why does she walk at certain times? She said, no, she doesn't walk. As we were talking at the neighbor's house, the house that is next to us, she was in the porch. She was kneeling on the porch as she knelt in front of my cot. And I told my mom, look at her there. And she looked. I said, no, she's walking towards her house now. And my mom said, it's nobody. And so my mom got furious. And then she marched with me there. And I saw what I had seen. My mom gave her in strong words and warnings that this is the last person you touch. Anyway, I'm the first. I was born when my mom was 32 and my dad was 36, and there were other grandchildren and nieces and nephews. There were so many people. So my mom said, of all these people, this is the person you want to do whatever it is. And she really gave her peace of mind and her warning, and everything ceased after that. I do not recall that. So for me, I didn't come to believe. I have always believed that life was not just what we see and hear. There was something more. There were presence. There were, you could feel a presence. You could see things and all that. And those things had also affirmed and made me position myself very early as a Christian, you know, or a person of faith, that I must speak to situations before I get to them. And you have this encounter in different forms. And when things happen like that, there were a number of incidences around that I recall that. Can I say it? Would they believe me? Nobody does. But that was a vivid one, you know, that at that age, I could see her walking. I was telling my mom, she's walking and she's going there and pointing as she was saying. And so my mom held me and we walked along. And when we got there, she was there in that chair she sits on, like a disabled person. And that is when my mom came on fiercely on her. And these things made me see that life is not what we see. We need we
visible.
need to actually position ourselves. There are powers and principalities that rule the world, that have a place in the ground. And it is not a certain pastor saying this or whatever. I draw my spiritual strength from the knowledge that I need to abide under a strength beyond me. I need that protection. I need that guidance. And I also say to myself, God has protected me all these years till now. Then He has a plan and a purpose and for me to fulfill. So these are silent thoughts and engagements and things I've seen that have defined things. And I've had difficulties. There are times of your life that you face, and one of the most difficult ones that transformed my life, and that should be the last 2 minutes, as when my husband had a near fatal accident, and afterwards he lost his speech and memory. And thank God for sisters who have been there all along with me. He's fine now, but I had to literally wake up at night to pray on him. I wake up to check if he's breathing. I have to ground myself and fortify myself. I even told my colleagues at work that when I get to work, I center myself. I bring in my presence. I must sit and ground myself, because I know that I cannot take things for granted, that walk anywhere or do anything. And I also know that it doesn't take what I do, but then there is that divine love and protection that comes automatically. So anytime I hear people also accusing, oh, my house help is a witch, I have been changing because they are witches, and I ask, where is your God? Where are you? What is in you? Why do you put energy and strength into the day? This is life. This is work. And we meet people across the way. Things may not work well. We have people who want to suppress us, people who want to say you are not worthy, people who want to. But what we need to do is to ground ourselves, ground our children, ground the people that we love most. And we need support. I also believe in calling for support when I don't. If you need counseling, I fall for it. If you need talking to a friend, and those friends that have become sisters, that you lay your burden over them, they are there, they run to you, you run to them for no fee. They are there to run the errand, support, pick things, have been, the most valuable currency I would use.
That you can ever have. Yes.
Can ever have. But I feel so blessed at every point that people I met, the new associates, the friends, whatever it is, they are key. They are key. Mamia phone is there. She's the person is like that character. I'm like Abigail, pushing me. What do you think we need to do now? What is it? And it's not about age. I really also believe in intergenerational community of people, friends and family. Ooh. With the younger ones, there are things they'll take you up to, and there are things too they can break your heart with. But you need both to survive.
We need both to survive. And with that being said, actually, Mami Afon, thank you so much for introducing us to my younger self, and indeed just me personally to Auntie Abby. Just an incredible networker. Mami Afon is just one of those people that just loves to see people connect and interconnect. So I know you're probably still asleep because it's really early morning where you are. But Mami Afon, we want to say thank you to my younger self, wants to say thank you. We really appreciate, like you like to say, this connect. This is a connect. We're very, very grateful for that. And Auntie Abby, again, I just want to take time to say thank you. Like just going into your pictures is like a whole open door to you with no airs and flares or anything like that. And this is a person who has sat in some rooms that would make any one of us just go like that. And for you to even make time for us is such an honor and such a privilege. Thank you for gracing to my younger self with your presence. I'm going to do a few housekeepings, and then I'll come back and ask you the last piece of advice, maybe 2 sentences, to any young adult that is watching. And so for those of you who are consistently watching to my younger self, you know we do this thing where we kind of just want to support Africans and people of African descent who do things creatively or science. It doesn't matter. As long as they're doing it, we want you to support them. Of course, we're always telling you about Wear Ghana, right? Where Ghana is doing incredible things in this world right now, putting the Ghanaian Ankara and GTP and all that stuff on the world market. You want to support them. If you want to look good, just go to Wear Ghana. You know what I mean? Core Designs is doing the same with her accessories and her purses. I'm always telling you guys how I feel very fly when I'm wearing a Core Design. Incredible. And every time I wear any of the designs, wherever I go, I just kind of get compliments all over the place. Of course, we're talking about Humanity Chats with Margie Marge. Margie Marge will be with us actually this month, yes, this month on Author's Corner to discuss her first book of the year. I'm saying the first book of the year because it's Margie Marge. You don't know, right? There can be another book by the end of the year. Conversations about race, an incredible book. So definitely go get your copy and then read it before she comes on the show for Author's Corner. Clatural, who is in New York. Music for your quality feed with Uncle A Coffee Show every Sunday. You just kind of want to unwind and chill. And this is a fun group of Africans just coming together virtually, dancing and just being together. Good music effectively. Exactly. I'm borrowing Auntie Abby's words right now. M. Sims by Mabel Simpson, of course. Ryle by Design out in Nyack, also a Kenyan designer. You definitely, especially if you want, you know, in those of us who live here, we don't necessarily have tailors that we can go to. They would take a measurement of you and sew your dress nicely like that. But Rael does that, okay? She actually does that at an affordable fee. So please reach out to her. Avonzige Bridal, coming to us from Bolga, but also situated in Accra. Her bridal designs are out of this world. And then she has a show that she puts together. And at the end of the year, she turns all of those nice bridal designs she used for the show, repurposes them, sews them up, and then sends it out to orphanages all across Ghana. It's incredible. Young people are doing incredible things. Keys and Credo by Nana Sapon. Of course, Nana Sapon, happy birthday to you. We know you just celebrated your birthday. Professor Audrey, that is in here with us every single Tuesday. Happy birthday to you too. We want to say thank you to you. Horseman Shoes, Caveman Watches, Book Nook by our brother Nana Redamo, and of course Kofi Akagli. Kunda Kids from Uganda and also Nigeria. We want to say thank you to our monthly donors. Jane Fiorito, we want to say thank you. Mama Rose Machayo, thank you. Auntie Araba, thank you. Mr. EKD, thank you. Auntie B, thank you. There's just so many of you every month pouring support and love just to my younger self. We want to say thank you for being who you are to us and just believing in the dream. Okay, of course, we're still going on with our treasure chest stories. So if you have any stories you want to share or any topics you want to discuss, but you kind of don't want to be on the show like this and you just want to write a story to us, please write a story to us, to my younger self 7777 at gmail.com. That is to my younger self, one word together, and then 4 7s at gmail.com. Of course, you cannot forget that, right? And one of our producers will definitely put the email address in the comment section for you. Madam Producer, I do believe that my cue card is finished, right? And of course, for all of you young adults, or even if you are not yourself in media or communication, but know someone who could benefit from this conversation starter or conversation event with Auntie G, that is Ohinayeri Gifty Auntie, please reach out to us. We have a few codes left and we would love to kind of just bless you with this. This is a collaboration and we would love for you to just go and sit under the feet of a veteran, a seasoned veteran, and just have conversations with her. You do not know what one thing she might say that might turn your media or communication journey around. So please take advantage of this. It's very generous of her to do it. And we want you to actually have that opportunity, okay? All righty. So Auntie Abby, in closing, what is your last statement to us?
I would just say be yourself. Own your strengths and your weaknesses.
Wow.
I mean, Your weaknesses will be complemented by the strengths of others around you, and that is why you need company. You need relationship, you need partnership. And for the women, young women, elderly women, I'll just say that the meek will not inherit the earth. I'm not talking about the Beatitudes in the Bible, but we have a different ball game and a terrain to navigate, and nothing will come to you. You have got to really force your way to grab it. The meek being telling people, be a lady, be this will not give you what you want. You have got to put your hands to work to the soul, challenge things that are in your way, customs, beliefs, tradition, practices, religion, all those things, and then challenge them to get to where you have to be.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Be yourself. And honestly, the meek will not inherit the earth. What a powerful, powerful statement. Guys, my name is Zoe.
And I took it from President Johnson Sirleaf. She said it first.
She said it first.
Yeah,
Wow.
The meeting in 1997.
Wow.
1997 in Accra.
Wow.
The women's rights meeting. We would never inherit the earth if we sit there. We've got to really challenge and move on.
Wow. Wow. The meek will not inherit the earth. And she's not taking it from the Beatitudes. I just love that. And I'm definitely going to cradle this in my womb and in my mind for the rest of the week. I really hope you do the same. To our YouTube watchers, we want to say thank you. And of course, those of you watching us live on Twitter, we also want to say thank you. We know you guys go a buzz after the show is over. So we're looking forward to fruitful conversations stemming out of this conversation with Auntie Abby herself. It's been such an honor being the moderator, facilitator, just kind of hanging loose with Auntie Abby and chilling. My name again is Zoe Baraka. The show is To My Younger Self. Next week, we have Dawn Francis coming, of course, out of Ghana, another teacher who is doing incredible things in Ghana. And we just are going to be hearing incredible stories. A young man that's just going places. And we're very excited to have him on the show. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day, of course, your week. Welcome to the month of February, the month of love. May love find you wherever you are. My name is Zoe Baraka from Auntie Abby and I from the studios of To My Younger Self. We love you. Goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, you know what you're shown. What you're shown.